Hi, guys. Welcome to the Wheel of Life workshop. Thank you so much for joining. And if you're watching on the replay, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. This is information that's probably a little different than you've seen presented on the Wheel of Life workshop. And I wanted to do it this way simply because I think it makes the most sense. So, without further ado, I am Sophia Antoine. I am a life and relationship coach, amongst other things. I deal with anxiety, low self esteem, and unforgiveness, and different things like that. I have worked with people with chronic illness, starting with my husband and other wives who have to support their significant others with chronic illnesses. So I've gotten a few people through that. But he's had a kidney surgery, a kidney transplant surgery back in 2015, and all praises goes to the Most High. It's been functioning great ever since he's gotten it, and we have been able to um, live a long, healthy life since the transplant. It's not ideal, but it is still amazing. So I am thankful. All right, so enough about me. We will get started. Our topics of discussion will be, of course, the welcome. So, welcome in, welcome, welcome. We're going to talk about a little bit of housekeeping. We will talk about, what's courageous coaching and what is the wheel of life, building your own wheel. And if you're just watching on the recording, please send me any discussions or any questions. Feel free to go ahead and DM me if you follow me on one of the social channels. Please feel free to shoot me an email. I'll give you all my contact information at the end of the recording. So, housekeeping. Please hold all questions until the end or drop them in the chat box and we'll address them during the discussion portion of the presentation. If you post on social media, if you take a screenshot or if you take a clip of the presentation, just go ahead and use the hashtags Wheel of Life and Coach Sophia. I'll be looking for those and I'll repost them. I'll shout you out because I definitely appreciate you taking the time to do any type of social media on my behalf. The replay will be available within 72 hours and probably will be available quicker than that because we're having a really freaky rainstorm right now and it knocked out my power, knocked out my internet. So honestly, I didn't get started on time, but I'm within my bounds. So I'm so glad again that you are here. And don't forget to sign up for the next workshop. The next workshop is on boundaries. And I know things have gotten a little freaky in this C19 era. And some people have forgotten their boundaries. Some people have put up really stringent boundaries. And I'm not blaming anybody for anything because you know what? You do what is best for you, do what makes you feel comfortable. One of my favorite quotes in regards to the wheel of life is because it deals with the wheel, right? Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. So I don't know if you remember when learning to ride your own bike or when you taught your children or somebody else's child, a neighborhood kid or something, how to ride their bike. It was important that they kept pedaling one and kept looking forward and just kept moving. That's the only way you are able to really learn. And that quote is attributed to Albert Einstein. Now, the butterfly, and this should resonate with a lot of us. So, a young lady decided to have her lunch in the park. She was at work, of course. She saw a butterfly struggling to get out of its cocoon. After nearly 30 minutes, her entire lunch break, of watching the butterfly struggle, she thought it would be helpful to use a pair of nail clippers to cut the cocoon. So she reached in her purse, got out the nail clippers, and kind of helped the butterfly out. This, she thought, would make it easier for the butterfly to get out. She hurried to make the cuts and left the part so she can get back to work. When the butterfly was free, it fell to the ground. The butterfly wasn't able to fly. The struggle to exit the cocoon was meant to strengthen its wings. His struggle was meant to produce strength. Later, the butterfly died. So, while it's not the most happy ending, it does teach us a lesson that struggles produce strength. And sometimes, if you're not strong enough, maybe you won't physically die, but that situation will die, or your motivation will die, or your encouragement dies. Something can die in the process when you don't go through the entirety of the struggle. So the purpose of our time together is, one, to just learn about what the wheel of life consists of. And I have 10 different tenets that I like to share with my clients in regards to their lives and achieving balance. And just get a grasp on where you are right now in your own life, because you cannot deal with the problem unless you address it. And that's one of the things I think a lot of people miss. You have to address things. You have to acknowledge that something is a problem in order for you to address it and take steps to fix it. So, who is Fortuna? Fortuna is Lady Luck. And I always attribute it to the, what's that movie? I know what it is. What is that movie? Robin Williams, and he's dressed up like Mrs. Doubtfire. There we go. It came to me, Mrs. Doubtfire. So, luck be a lady tonight, right? In Roman mythology, Fortuna was the goddess of luck, fate, and fortune. She watched over people and kingdoms. In her left hand, she is often shown holding a cornucopia. It's a symbol of all things good flowing in abundance. In her right hand is usually a ship's rudder, which this one doesn't have a ship's rudder, but you get the picture. And that's used to move the ship, left and right, turn it around. It's a symbol of her power to steer the lives of people she watched. So these two objects enabled her to either bring happiness to or completely destroy someone's life. Now, the next three slides are just images of the wheel of life. So this first one, and you can always rewind it and go back and relook at any of this information if I do go too fast. I do tend to be a fast talker. So please go back and rewatch this so you can get the full grasp of the workshop. So this first one, this is one depiction of Fortuna. So that's her there with her hands on the wheel, and she is turning it. She's turning it. This is another one, which I think, just pay attention to the stations where the people are, the little people are. So these are the people she watches over. This next one is a better depiction, and I'll explain the four stations in a little bit. There's Fortuna in the background, and she is again controlling the wheel, and there are more people that she's watching over. And just make mental notes of all the people and their stations where you can see them turning around. Okay, and this is the third one. Fortuna's in the middle, and I guess she's doing some fancy handwork where she's able to maybe turn the wheel with her wings because her hands are full. It looks like she has a wine glass and something else going on there. But just again, the stations in life. And we're moving on. So we're going to explain the four phases that we see here. So the four phases of life, and I'll go back so you can see what I'm talking about and make mental note and make it make sense to you. So phase one, when you are at the top of the wheel, life is good. So picture yourself on the wheel. Life is good. This is the epitome of success and happiness. And I'll just go back to this last one simply because it's the closest. So at the very top of the wheel, you are draped in beautiful purple, which is royalty, because she watches over kings and queens and kingdoms and people. So everything in their life. That is where you are at your best, where you're feeling good, you're looking good, you're smelling good, you're in tip top shape and health, and everything's going well for you, right? So I think of all the pictures, that's what the first station in life looks like. You're at the top and you are just feeling yourself. You are doing the most and you don't even care what nobody has to say about it, right? So you get to the second station, the second phase. When the wheel turns clockwise, you begin to fall into distress. Change and loss begin to happen. So have you ever been at the very top of your game and then something happens? Maybe you lost a job, or you lost, God forbid, a pet, or a person in your life that was near and dear to you, or something happened, you got into a car accident. And so life starts to turn. The wheel starts to turn. That's the wheel of life. That's the connection. You start feeling a little topsy turvy. Things aren't at their worst, but it should be coming together for you now. Things should be making sense that, things aren't at their best anymore. It's a little off kilter. You're losing your balance here. So again, we're going to the third phase. And the third phase is like rock bottom. While at the bottom, you feel as though you are being dragged. You're burned by the fire, ran over, the bus ran you over, backed up and ran you over again. You feel as though there is no hope. So little buddy right here is getting dragged. It looks like his belly is touching his back. He hasn't eaten a good meal. He just crawling on his hands and knees, hoping to get to the next day. And this is one I felt, it just feels like you're on fire. It feels like you're in the scorching pits of hell right here. And I can tell you, this is what I felt when I lost my dad. This was unbearable for me, but I just knew that I had to be strong. Did I know how strong I could be, how long I could be strong for? Excuse me. Um, I was just upside down. I literally felt upside down. My life had been turned upside down by that particular event. But up until then, up until your worst event, you never think you'll get here. You always think your last event that was really, really bad or had you at rock bottom would put you, that's the worst you'll ever go. If you've ever been addicted to any type of substance. So this is that, your rock bottom, where you can't feel like you can't go any further down. So the last station, the fourth station, in this position, you are coming out of despair. You begin to have hope and realize that things are getting better. The light at the end of the tunnel is getting brighter. So I don't know how many of you live where there's an actual tunnel or have been on a train and have gone through a tunnel, but this is that light getting bigger. You went through it in daytime and it's so dark and so dismal and so awful when you're going through it, and it seems so long. It always seems longer than it actually is. If it's a 2-mile tunnel, it feels like 20 miles. So it's so long and it's so disparaging, and it makes you feel like you're never going to get to an end. Or I can even tell you, which isn't a bad thing, but even when you're on a roller coaster and you really don't want to be on it, if one of your friends or a couple of your friends say, hey, come on, let's get on this roller coaster, and you're like, nah, I really don't want to go, but you go because you want to be a part of the group and stuff. So you get on it and you start going, and you're just like, I just want this thing to be over. And truthfully, I can tell you, in 2015, for my husband's birthday, I took him to Busch Gardens as a surprise. And we got on a roller coaster. Y'all, the roller coaster looked tame. It looked timid. It looked like, okay, we can do this because we old, shoot. We don't have time to be getting on nobody roller coaster. That thing threw us to and fro. I just was screaming, and come to find out, it was like one of the in between. It wasn't a kiddie roller coaster, but wasn't a big like Shikra roller coaster, which I would never get on. But it was enough to where it's like, you know what, I have no business on here with my old self. But that's what I felt like. I felt like it would never come to an end. And then when I got to the end, I was like, oh, is it over already? It's not that bad. So those are the four phases. Those are the four stations. So things to remember about the four stations. There's no specific time frame of you being in each particular position, each particular phase. It can take days, weeks, months, or years for you in one place. And when you get to the next place, it can take just a few minutes. Your emotions and your understanding of the situation, that's solely dependent upon you. You can move through them very quickly, or you can move through them very slowly. It just depends on you. And don't allow anybody to make you feel badly because of, the amount of time it's taking you to get from one place to another. That's solely dependent upon you. And like I mentioned before, grief is a different type of cycle, totally different, because you can fluctuate back and forth, back and forth. The person in mourning can experience emotions consecutively or remain in shock for years. And I think, just to use myself as a reference point, when my father passed away back in 2019, I was the only sibling that lived in this particular area. So my other siblings um, were states away. My sisters were. My brother is here. He did live close by, but he didn't get over as much. So it was just me for a very long time dealing with the fact that, okay, my father's gone. While my husband was here to help me, and he was being here for me, it's not the same because my husband didn't lose his father. I lost my father, a man that was in my life for more than 40 years. And I didn't know how to deal with that. Like one day he was here and one day he was not. So when I woke up that next morning, honestly, I went about my life as if nothing had happened. I acknowledged the fact that my father passed away. When I left him, he was in the hospital. He was in a hospital room. He was going to be taken to the morgue and then to um, what's that place? A funeral home. But I carried on with my life, and it was just like I was in shock. I just kept going on. So grief is a longer cycle. You can skip portions or get stuck. And I had to take care of all of the arrangements myself. My sisters, they were accessible via phone or video chat and whatnot, but I was the only person physically here for quite some time. So if that happens to you, and I'm glad they came when they did, because I wouldn't have been able to hold up much longer if they didn't. And if you feel like you're just lingering in grief for a very long time, my suggestion is seek help when you feel like it's not reasonable, or too many people come and tell you what you're doing isn't reasonable. So at least give people the benefit of the doubt in what they're saying to you. All right. Moving right along. And honestly, this isn't going to be long at all. You'll spend more time with the recording than I will spend more time with you here, simply because I want to disseminate this information out to you. But you are actually going to draw your own wheel. It's your turn. So draw your own wheel of life. You are each character in the 4 positions on the wheel, and you don't have to be a great artist in order to do this. I wish I would have uploaded mine, because mine, I just drew some stick figures and that was about it. You are also in the position of Fortuna. So you are everybody. You are all 5 characters. So you're Fortuna. So insert your name here, and then you're all the stations on all 4 phases. So go back when you get a chance, all 4 phases. You are in control of the things that happen to you in life. At the very least, you control your reactions to them. So even if it's a circumstance beyond your control, like you lose somebody or there's a breakup and you don't understand why the relationship broke up, you still control your reaction. You still control the things you do in your life. So if you're watching the recording, go ahead and pause right here and draw your wheel and draw yourself, and restart the recording when you get a moment, when you're all done with that task. Now, I'm assuming since you restarted the recording that you are ready for the 10 levels of life. You've already drawn yourself as Fortuna. You've drawn yourself in every phase. So you're at the 12 o'clock, the 3 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, and the 9 o'clock. So you're in all those phases. Now, these are the 10 levels of life. This is what I use with my clients. So every place where you feel these things apply, draw it on your wheel, or write the word on your wheel. So let's take the physical first. So if you feel that you are at your highest level right now, the successful portion of your physical, go ahead and put that up at the top. If you feel like you are being dragged by your physical health, you are at the very bottom, the 6 o'clock. If you feel as though you were doing bad a little while ago and now things are looking up for your physical health, put it at the 9 o'clock. So you see how that works? Let's do that with the physical, the emotional, relational, vocational, personal, financial, recreation, spiritual, communal, and social. And I'll just go through and explain each one of those just to make sure you get it, right? So, physical, of course, is your health, your wellness, your eating habits, things like that. Emotional is how you deal with things, your emotional reaction to different circumstances. Relational is how you relate in your relationships, say your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your friend, your I'm not talking about no sneaky links because that's not really a relationship. Those things don't count. So relational, how you get along with people, how are your relationships, are they strong or are you avoidant to relationships, things like that. Vocational can be your job or your career or your education. How do you feel on around those things? Personal. Now, that's your relationship with self. How are your self talks? How are your goal settings? How do you relate to yourself? Just your relationship with yourself. Financial, of course, how's your money management skills? How's your relationship with money? Recreation, that is, do you make time for fun? Do you make time to really enjoy yourself? All work and no play makes you a very sucky person. Spiritual, do you invest in time with a higher power? Do you take time to meditate, to pray, to do any of the things that will put you in a spiritual state of mind? Communal, how do you interact with your community? Are you a part of your community, or do you just go in the house and not relate with people in your community? Do you help your community? Do you know what's going on in your community? And social, of course, is, do you get out and you, not social media, but are you social? Are you active? Do you get out and commiserate with other people? So now, again, pause the recording and go ahead and take time to just assess yourself in these spaces. And we'll be able to put those on every area of the wheel where you think they apply. Now, and this is cut off a little bit, my sincerest apologies, but we'll figure it out. So now rate your 10 levels. So are 5 meaning very satisfied. If you're very satisfied about where you are with that, that's fine. It may be dragging you, but you're satisfied with you dragging you for right now. That's fine, because we're going to put it where you feel you are currently. Maybe you're going through something right now, but that doesn't mean it'll be that way next week when you're done going through that thing. Maybe you know that there is an expiration date on the trial or tribulation that you're going through. So maybe that's what it is right now. I can tell you my physical, mine is dragging me because I am really putting forth an effort in getting my coaching practice back up and running. So I don't have, I'm not going to say I don't have time, because that's not true. I do have time, but I spend my time doing other things. So I'm not making excuses, but I spend my time doing other things. So my physical health, meaning my workouts, because I used to get up and work out at 4:15 every morning. And now I'm not doing that because I would rather spend that time working on my business right now. So as soon as I get my business back up and running, or to a place that's satisfactory, I'm going to go ahead and move it back to the very satisfied. But right now I'm at a 1 with that, very dissatisfied. So I'm at the bottom of my wheel with that. So you just go ahead and be honest, because if you're not honest about where you are, you can't make changes if you so choose, right? So 5 is very satisfied, 4 is satisfied, 3 neutral, 2 dissatisfied, and 1 very dissatisfied. So take time to do that as well. And remember, you can always rewind this. I am a fast talker. Of that, I am aware. So, my sincerest apologies. But thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for being here. I truly, truly appreciate it. So, go ahead and take care of that now. So, in wrapping up, I told you we wouldn't be long, not long at all. So, analyze and improve. Review your will, and for any area that you want to improve, set one smart goal and build on it. You can also write affirmations concerning that area, do some mirror work, and commit to being accountable in that area of life. Choose joy, and this is a big one. While it's easy to say that you want to be happy, know that happiness is only for a moment. As you can see from the wheel, it is only a matter of time before you go around again. Look for and hold on to what brings you joy. Store it in your heart and make it a practice to lean on those things in times of despair. So, what I suggest, start making a joy jar. It's a just what it says, a mason jar or some type of jar. It can be a coffee can. If something good happens, write it on a slip of paper, slip it in that joy jar, and keep doing this and keep doing this and keep doing this no matter what, because there's going to come a day when you're going to go through something and you're going to need that to fall back on, so you can remember that good times were here before, good times will come again. All right, bolster your faith, secure your standards and beliefs in your higher power. In times of despair, it's good to have support from others who believe like you, and even some who don't. Some people are able to come together. It just depends on what you believe. Some people are more open minded, but they're willing to support you. They can pray for and with you. Faith will sustain you until your hope returns. So I don't know what you believe. I'm not asking you about what you believe, but just make sure you're able to depend on people that are willing to, motivate you and encourage you in the time. So you can have faith in people. You can have faith in a particular person or a higher power, a higher being. That's totally fine. Just make sure you have something or someone that you can hang on to that's faithful, that will be there for you and will help you get through this storm. All right. So contact information. If you'd like to email me, there's my email, hey there at sophiaantoine.com. Mailing address is there. Phone numbers there if you wish to call. You can leave a message. I'm not in my office often enough to answer the phone, but you can leave me a message and I will get back to you. Please leave your name, your number, and email address is great because I can respond to you via email if I don't have time to call. So I get my messages via it transcribes it. So I'll be able to just respond to you right away if you're looking for a good answer. So give me 48 hours on that. And if you want to follow me on any social media sites, go ahead and go to bit.ly/connect with coach. All one word, all lowercase, connect with coach. And image attribution. Those images are not my own. I do not have any rights to them. They belong to the sites that you see here. So those people get the attribution for their work. I do not take anybody's work. So it belongs to these people here. So you can go visit them and learn more about Fortuna. I just wanted them for the images in regards to, building up um, in your mind's eye what to think about all the stations and what to see in the different depictions. So you can go there to see that if you'd like. But those are my image attributions. And lastly, I would like to thank you for sitting through this workshop. I don't take your time for granted. I appreciate you. With it being so hectic and so just crazy in the world today, that you took time to spend with me is amazing. I appreciate it. I hope you learned something. Please, please, please go ahead and reach out to me. I would greatly appreciate it. And again, I thank you for just being here and taking the time. This is, again, Sophia Antoine. I'm a life and relationship coach. I would love to work with you. Go ahead and reach out to me, bit.ly/connect with coach. You can book a free discovery call It's 30 minutes to see how we can work together. All right. So you take care of yourself in these crazy days and times, and we will find ourselves together again soon.